I think everyone should be sad. This is a tragedy. Innocent people have been killed. It's obviously a terrible incident, and I think everyone should unite in sorrow. This is a terrible thing.
And if it was Israeli Defense Forces who fired that rocket, will you say sorry?
Well, let's be clear. In the past, when we've made mistakes, we have admitted so publicly. This situation still is unclear. It's not clear if it was a Palestinian Hamas fire, because there were specific reports of Hamas rockets landing in the area of Beit Hanun, in the area of the school, or whether it was our forces who were involved in a firefight with Hamas terrorists who were using the vicinity of the school to shoot at our people. But we'll get to the bottom of this.
But the Israeli Defense Force issued an evacuation for that school, so you were planning to attack it at some point.
We had a situation where terrorists, unfortunately, it's part of their overall strategy, and we've had a whole series of examples where they've used UN facilities either to store rockets, to store these weapons that they shoot at us, the rockets that they shoot into Israeli cities, or which they use them for other military purposes. In this case, they were using the school facility and the immediate area to shoot at our forces.
So that's justifiable, is it? When you know that there are women and children sheltering in that UN building, you can justify it by saying Hamas might be there too.
No, it's not might be there. There's not a question that they were there and they were shooting at our people. Look, we don't target civilians. I want to be clear about that. We don't target civilians.
That's exactly what you did yesterday.
Facilities.
But that's exactly what happened yesterday.
You knew there
were hundreds of women and children sheltering in that school.
Not true.
You asked them to evacuate. You knew they weren't able to evacuate, and you kept on firing.
That's not correct, and I don't think you know that it's correct either. We are still trying to ascertain the facts. First of all, it could have been the Palestinian rockets that the UN itself reported were landing in that vicinity. And secondly, anyone who's been in combat, whether it's a soldier or a combatant himself or a journalist who's covered combat, knows that there's what the experts call the fog of war. If an Israeli force on the ground was receiving hostile fire and they returned fire because they wanted to save their lives or something like that, and that fire inadvertently killed innocent people, I think according to any rules of war, and once again, it's a hypothesis because we don't know exactly what happened yet, but to blame the Israeli soldiers when hostile fire, when the terrorists are deliberately using the UN facility as a human shield, they are the ones, as the Secretary General himself said in a statement yesterday, if they are brutalizing UN facilities, if they're using UN facilities to conduct their terrorist war, first of all, that's a crime. But secondly, they are responsible for the deaths. They've turned the UN facility into a war zone.
Right. The UN also say over 100,000 women and children, innocent people, are using their safe houses, their buildings to shelter, to get away from the fighting. Are you saying their lives are at risk, that they are legitimate targets going forward?
Of course not. Of course not. We totally support the humanitarian mission of the United Nations and of the other groups in Gaza.
If you think Hamas are in those buildings too, you will fire on them?
No, we will not. We will not fire at innocent civilians. Our policies are very clear and our military standing orders are very clear. Our target is not the innocent civilian population of Gaza. Our targets are the terrorists shooting rockets at us. And we try to be as surgically as we can in a very complex combat situation. It's an especially difficult combat situation precisely because the terrorists, Hamas and the others, use the civilian population as a human shield, as we've seen in this case.
The UN says 1 child an hour is dying in Gaza. Is it really worth it, this bloodshed?
Well, I'd ask you, what would the government of the United Kingdom do if rockets were raining down on your cities? We've had more than 2,300 rockets shot from Gaza on our cities. They're trying to kill our people, and we have to try to protect our people to stop those rockets being fired.
We've had 18 days of conflict so far. Is there another 18 days ahead?
I hope not. But as long as those rockets keep being shot at our cities, as long as they keep trying to kill our people, we will act to defend ourselves. If the rockets stop, that's a whole new ballgame. But Hamas so far has refused to accept any ceasefire.
Mark Regev, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.